The folks at Byron Seeds believe organic requires a different perspective, plan, and approach. Organic isn't simply a different type of product or even a different way of farming. It's a different way of thinking, planning, commitment. It's a different philosophy on how to feed the world. Many won't understand, but the people at Byron Seeds do. We're owned by organic dairy farmers. We not only have the product, but we plan, manage, and execute organic. We speak your language, we share your struggles, and we laud your successes. Organic isn't a way of doing business, it's a community. We learn from each other. We're in this together. We'd be glad to talk cropping plans, management systems, the road to profitability. We understand what you're trying to do. We're farmers just like you. Visit us at byronseeds.net or give us a call at 800-801-3596. And thanks to Byron Seeds. Soil Biotics offers a complete line of organic product to improve seed and plant health, improve soil structure, and enhance micronutrient uptake by the plant. This includes natural humate products, a variety of microbial products, nitrogen maintenance aids, plant foods, and more. From pre-plant soil preparation to post-harvest soil maintenance, Soil Biotics organic products are formulated to work together to provide a continuous and highly beneficial growth environment to meet all of your organic agricultural needs.
You're listening to Rooted in Organic Podcast. I'm Mike Klein, and along with Brian Wood, we are sitting down with Lloyd Miller from Millersburg, Ohio. Lloyd is an organic grass-fed dairy farmer, and he was one of the founders of the Northern Ohio Grazing Conference, and was really involved in the infant stage of the grazing movement here. So, Lloyd, can you give us first of all, thank you for joining us, and can you give us a little bit of your background and kind of where your farming career started?
Yeah, well, it's a privilege to sit in on this podcast this afternoon at the Organic Grazing Conference in Mount Hope. And my farming started in 1995. I left my day job as a construction worker. I was there for 10 years, kind of had a goal set, and then I had the home farm on my hands, and we came back and started milking cows in 1995 in a tie stall barn situation, stanchion barn. The cows would come in, get milk, go out again. And so yeah, we were conventional. My dad was conventional, and we kind of started milking cows. And I was on the construction crew. We were all about being organized and being efficient. And so that was kind of my mindset. So we automatically started milking cows in the center and switching cows left and right and kind of moving cows through. We milked 70 cows an hour, which was unheard of in my dad's situation. And not looking down on them, it was just they came from a hand milking situation and finally got milkers and back in the 70s. And so they were moving up in life. They were happy. But with that, I started attending grazing school in Mount Hope, put on by the extension agents, and went to field days. I definitely liked what I saw, and I saw our farm is not overly hilly, but it's still got some pretty good hillsides, and so we thought about incorporating grass a little more and using electric fence, and so with that everything was positive. And when we started doing that, we were minimum spray to start with, didn't like the Roundup idea at all. And with moving toward the grass more, it just seemed more of a fit. Organic was relatively new. There was quite a few pioneers, David Klein, Rob Schleybaugh, Ernest Martin. They were definitely already up front and trying to get a market for the milk. And so in 2002, we certified the land. 2002, from 95 to 2002, then we certified the land. And then we certified the cows in 2006. And went to minimum grain, 4 pounds, 6 pounds a day, and, felt good about that. thought it was needed and all that. But so we did that until I think it was 2020 or 2021. 2020. September of 2020, we switched to the grass-fed truck. And that has absolutely taken our life, our family, the whole thing to another level with inputs, and we can now raise basically all our feed, and totally amazed at cow condition and also numbers in milk production, just as good if not better than we were doing before. And I'm not sure that I can put my finger on everything, but I think you stay a lot more focused in that situation than trying to raise corn organically and everything that goes with it. So, we've just been blessed to have a really good journey. We're milking 55 cows, like 70 head on the farm, and then young stock, and have a rented farm. We have 100 acres at home. I have a rented farm, 2 different plots. One's a 70-acre plot, and the other's a 35, and it's all within a mile of home. So, I'm not fond of running all over a couple counties to do farming. I've done that, been through that, made a lot of mistakes, made a ton of mistakes, but I've found out in life, everybody, you're a taker somewhere. You're either a risk taker or a caretaker or an undertaker. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And risk takers, they're people that never take risks. So yeah, you'll definitely be a caretaker sometime too. So, but yeah, to take a risk, the turtle who never gets out of its shell never crosses the road either. So.
But going back to the 90s, did you start grazing right when you started farming, or were you just dabbling in it, or how was that?
We just kind of dabbled in it. We dabbled in it and I would take these long, and our grazing practices have changed completely. I mean, we used to do strip grazing, take these long, narrow strips, and I would go through and I would move that fence 3 feet all the time, a couple times a day, and get those cows up against the fence. And so it'd be this long stretch of field with this narrow strip. And you were limiting the cows to their intake, but it was also a way to clean up the field. They would it would look, really cleaned up and nice. But looking back to that, it was kind of a learning curve. Now we do, now we have these paddocks that are, a lot bigger, and the cows are able to go out and eat until they're full. They'll lay down on a full stomach and chew their cud. And, it's a complete different kind of a different mindset on grazing. So
you said you came into the dairy, with an efficiency mindset coming from the construction crew. Was grazing was it an efficiency thing?
Well, I would say it played into that with, and back then we were actually, we pushed the envelope on numbers. At one time we were at 130 cows, young family, just really wanted to go at it, and I wasn't focused on production as much as just numbers. We have a lot of cows. If they give a little, every little bit helps. Since that, we've kind of come through with more of the mindset, it's not as much about quantity as quality, and then also quality milk, and then maintaining numbers, using high production, using good bulls to where we can actually have production. And I know, back in the 90s, probably more in the 9,000 pound herd average. Today, 12,000 pounds, with that input. So it's all about, and then getting down and doing the numbers. Back then, it was like all these young guys are that start farming. It's just, you see the milk check and you don't stop and do the math. What's paying the bills? How's it working out? So I think the big thing for a farmer today is it's a business. And once I know, and then I do my books by percentages. So I know percentage-wise per month. Last year, the month of May, we had a 90% profit margin. For every dollar, I kept 90 cents. That's hard to beat. The average for the year was 73%. So I was happy. I had 1 month in June. I think we had the storm go through, and we dropped down to like a 56%, but we had some extra added costs. So I know where it went to. That's the bottom line. Know where it goes to. And then you can start planning on how to utilize or how to, what do you have some other holes that you need to stop, or where's the money going to? Do I need this? Do I need that? So, how do we get off on that bunny trail? Yeah.
And I'm interested in, I like financial numbers too, and the 90% margin there. Did you work your way there, or have you consistently been able to do that over the years? And what have you done to get there?
Okay, that's the good. So my goal is that was the first year we intently, and when I say intently, we literally earmarked every bill, and we know exactly where it went to. And then I summed that all up in 1 month's slot, and so I know what happened. So to consistently do that would be, after a 3-year, I know I have this graph that what it's going to look like. So it's going to take some time to make sure, and I already know. I mean, that was 2022, and we averaged like 55 pounds in that peak. This year we averaged 60 pounds. And I don't have that data right now in my head. So I'm not exactly sure where we're at on that today. And also, this last year we hosted our own wedding, my daughter's wedding, but that all being said, that doesn't affect my cow numbers. That's a private. Our wedding was paid for with money from the farm, but what I'm saying, my percentage doesn't change. That's the real deal.
Yep.
So,
and back to grazing. You said in the 90s you were doing a certain style, the strip grazing, and now things have changed. Back then, what was the mindset around, what was the benefit that was being touted as the reason why strip grazing was the way to do things, and what has changed since that point to go to a different style?
I think the whole picture was, we started out, and that's what we were at the grazing schools. They taught us how to graze and how to really focus on getting the cows to not trample so much, and then also get the manure placed where it should be, and that's what it does. But it's labor intense. That's also another labor intense thing. So, right. Yeah, and I think that's part of it, why we changed that system. But also is unless you have that just right, you're always limiting your cows to how much they can intake. And to go to a grass-fed system, to have cows that look full, and we saw Roman Stolzfus' son's slides this morning, and those cows were, they looked better than any grain-fed cows did, because they had that shine and they were full. So, those are all things you learn. And what I love about this project is we've got people doing this from coast to coast, and so we can learn from each other, and we're not in competition to each other. We can, listen and talk and share and quote and do whatever. So it's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm. Was it the New Zealand people who was coming in and teaching those grazing schools in the 90s?
It was, I think it was sparked through the New Zealand style, but the extension agents were hosting these, and I give a lot of credit to them. And I think from there, that's why we, as Ernest Martin, Eric Grimm, Mike Gessel, got together, and we thought, by that time the funds were short, and they quit the funded grazing conferences, and so we thought we needed to do a private thing, and that's why we started the Northeast Ohio Grazing Conference. We have our own input, they support it, but that's been up and running for 30-some years, and it's been very successful, very motivating. Get some very good speakers that have some manure on their shoes and dirt underneath their fingernails.
And bring new ideas. Yep.
That grazing conference is always the third week of January at the Mount Hope Event Center, I believe. So,
Yep.
and that is a very good grazing conference, and it has changed over the years, but it's still every year there's so many good things going on with that. When you started like getting serious about the grazing, did you change what you were seeding, what you were planting in the fields too? Because when I was a kid and we first grazed, it was basically alfalfa and some clovers. But did you then use a lot more of the ryegrasses and things like that when you started?
So yeah, that I think that reminds me. So Barenbrug was a new seed company in the area, and John Tyson was in from Holland himself, and he gave a presentation one time at John Daniel Schlebaugh's. What I remember about that day wasn't as much about the seed promotion as the glazed donuts we had. But so they pushed ryegrass, and I was, with that mindset of construction, and we were all about being organized, and I thought, why wouldn't you plant? So I planted 40 acres into BG34, which, it might be a little high, but man, oh man, we made milk off of that stuff, like unreal. But kind of jumped off of the deep end on it, but that 40 acres hung around for years, and I learned from that. So after that, I never did as much again, but I've been going back and reseeding some old pastures into BG34 again, specifically BG34. And I'm not here to promote seed or to do whatever, but we can always make milk. I can bring my cows in. My wife will help milk, and she'll say, I know where these cows were at. So that's exciting.
So what is BG34?
It's a perennial ryegrass.
Okay.
Yeah, and that with some Alice white clover, but you definitely don't want the whole farm in BG34, because it's when you have a dry year and a warm year and all that, it goes dormant. But with all that, we've had so okay, we'll put some clover in, and then we had a dry year, and then we had some rain, and this stuff just surged overnight. And so I know what a couple bloated cows look like, but you roll with it. Okay, it happens in the barn. So
what would you say has been, in your farming career, what has been the most exciting thing that because you're obviously a risk taker. You're not scared of trying things. So what is the one thing that worked out like you expected it to? Because you never try something not expecting it to work. Like, you always expect it to work, but what really was an exciting thing that you discovered?
Well, I would say the most exciting thing we did on the farm, and it's not as much about even the seeding or about what kind of fence or even but it's the milking parlor we put in. I mean, we use that thing twice a day, and it's so simple, and it was the best idea, and I walk into that thing every morning and evening if I'm there. Most of the time we're there. We very seldom go out, but it was a good investment. It's the way, and when you do something like that twice a day, you need to enjoy what you do, and we have good lighting. We have, that's probably some of the worst ideas. We talk about good ideas. I mean, I built hoop building, and I used poles for the foundation, and that all sounds good, and it's quick and it's easy. But then on a windy day, they have a way of giving away, and I lost that stupid thing, 50 by 100. I cried that day. I mean, but you know what? Life goes on, and you suck it up, and hey, we have a lot of blessings. So,
What is the parlor that you have, and when was it built?
We built the parlor in 01. Built the milking parlor in the existing barn in 01. It's a swing 10. It's a Dairy Master system. I say a Dairy Master system, and it's bare bones. It's not no automatic takeoffs. It's just the units and the pulsation. And we milk our 55 cows in about 45 minutes. So,
How about, and you answered one of them, but I was going to go down the path of the opposite direction, something that you had high expectations for. You answered one with the hoop building. Any other lessons to share?
The other lessons would be, stay focused on your breeding. I mean, you go to these conferences and you hear everybody's story about this breed and that breed and crossbreed and all at once you end up with any color, any size, anywhere, and that can be devastating. I mean, we're breeding, as much as everybody's focused on high components, and I'm not saying wrong, right, or indifferent. We just use Holstein genetics, and I want milk, and yeah.
Now, I think a lot of people that don't do grass milk or 100% grass-fed would think right away, how in the world can you do 100% grass-fed with Holsteins? Now, I've seen it work very well, but what would be your take on, obviously you're making it work, but what are you doing to make it work with Holsteins?
I think to answer that one would be simply back to the style of grazing. Number one, they need to be able to tank up. They need to be able to fill that rumen and stand there. One of my highlights is we open the gate when we start milking, push the cows into the parlor, and then from there on out, they stand at the gate just waiting to come in as that group leaves. But one of my highlights is to see these big cows standing there chewing their cud just on a relaxed, absolutely enjoying life. To me, that is so, it's just a highlight. It's and I know some people don't like cows, but if you like cows and you know what that means. They're going to come in totally relaxed, so that means they're not pooping all over the place, and they're giving me what they want to give me, and then they move on in life and they have a good day. So.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out to look at your cows out in the field, and, Brian, you mentioned it, kind of the conventional wisdom would be you can't be grass-fed with more of the American-style Holstein. And you are living proof that that's not true, and I don't think the breed of cow has nearly as much to do in the grass-fed operation of being successful or not as management. Just feeding your cows, and if you're not feeding any grain, they have to really tank up on pasture, and it takes a lot of grass to do it. And to see your success with your herd has been really impressive, because I get to see your production numbers, and your production has just continually gotten better.
Well, I think part of the secret is also the farmer. It depends on the cows you have, but the farmer, you need to have some passion. You need to be, do that extra thing when you have a chance to fill up the feed bunk or anything that helps you. But the farmer needs motivation, and as well as you need motivation, we all have things that can drain energy. And if you're in that mode, you need to plug that system, get it out of your system. But then the whole team, is it your wife or your hired hand or your kids helping you, you need that energy builds up on each other. As much as it also drains when you have a down, things. But we all have days when things, we've had a couple really nice days, but I know well that before too long the wind will be in the face, and we'll have some cold days, but we'll get through this.
When you switched, you talked about production and going up now that you've been grass-fed, but when you went grass-fed, did you see a drop?
No, we actually increased production. Yeah, that's, to me, that I can't explain that part. I think it's that tightrope that people walk and justify the 4 pounds of grain and think they're doing themselves a favor. I say you're actually probably hurting yourself more than you're gaining. Pull that plug and do it right and get the premium for the grass-fed milk, but do your cows a favor and just give them what they really want. And I think it's a different mindset. I mix, so I use a TMR mixer and people say, why would you do that? You're all grass. But my grass is first cutting, second cutting, third cutting, fourth cutting, fifth cutting every now and then. And so you've got this deluxe stuff, some ripe stuff, and So it's either I'll put this good bale in, I'll put this other, oh, they'll mix it together. Well, what the cow does, she'll feast on this, and then you got to starve her to feed this. If I mix that all together, she's got to, then I watch my mun levels. If my mun levels, naturally on the grass-fed program, you'll see your mun levels quite a bit higher because of all the protein, but then we feed molasses to push some energy in it, and it's not a perfect scenario, but yeah, we can still have muns from 14 to 16 pretty regular, and I've had them at 17, 18. I've had them in the spring to 21, but they always come down. And I think in the grass-fed situation, the muns, it's a different reading, or it might read a little different than it would if you're feeding a high-protein diet in soybean meal and all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a different type of protein.
It's a different type of protein.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm trying to wrap my head around how you went up in production when you switched to 100% grass-fed, pulled the grain.
Okay, there's a few things. One of them enters into this. So you've always had these naysayers around you that say this will never work and your cows will get thin. And yep. I don't care. You can call me stubborn or whatever, but you also want to prove those guys wrong. So some of that is a little bit of, it's your own. You push them and you. I was focused on watching their body condition and making sure their rumen is full. And, in the morning when I bring the cows in, it'll take me a little bit of time in the summertime because I let them browse a little bit. I let them browse on their way in, and it might take me, a little longer, but they're basically getting their grain for the morning is what I'm doing. And then same in the afternoon, I push them, now that I'm feeding some TMR, because the grass is pretty well history for the year. But so I like to feed them about 2:30, 3 o'clock, get them up to the bunk, and they'll tank up. And it's that anything you can do to, and like I was telling another gentleman this morning, watching the Stolzfus herd kind of go through his presentation, and then watching their cows on a video, I said, as important as it is to move that fence and get him feeding, I think it's more important to let him tank up and then go lay down. I think that rest period does more for production than what every 3 hours let's go feed again. I think if they're full and they can lay there and chew their cud, I think you're going to get more benefit out of that than moving them every couple hours. Mm-hmm. I'm not criticizing his plan. His cows look well, and I'm not criticizing that. But I think that concept, I think a cow needs to lay and chew her cud for, is it maybe 14 hours total in a 24-hour period? I think something like that is what I've been reading. So
did they not do that when they were getting grain?
Well, see, then the flip side of that, okay, we were feeding our grain in the parlor too. And so then you have all this pushing and shoving and it was just, and people say, well, how do you milk your cows if you don't feed them? They just come in and stand and then you milk them. I mean, how complicated is that? So, yeah.
But Lloyd, I saw the transition to all grass
Uh-huh.
up close. And I also think you saw that as a challenge, and it really inspired you to try something new. I saw a renewed vigor, I should say, when you went through that grass-fed transition, and it was really impressive to see.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I think also, I saw as an opportunity. I saw that as an opportunity that this is going to be one of the best decisions we ever made, and I was not disappointed at all. And I think one of the bigger challenges to do that is your calves, your young stock. So, you need to, and being right now, my wife and I are by ourselves, and so we focus on low input as far as labor. So we also run some nurse cows with our calves, but then you take them away, and I've discovered organic alfalfa pellets is a really good alternative for your calves. You dribble that on top of a TMR mix, and they scoop that up. It just gives them that little extra boost, and it's not a gray thing at all. It's totally organic alfalfa pressed into a pellet. And I like it because most of those pellets are like a 15%. Most of them are the alfalfa that want just a little too ripe, and so they turned it to a pellet. So it smells terrific, and they eat 100% of it. Yeah.
So what do you think was your biggest challenge in going grass? Would it have been the calves?
Yeah, I would say probably the calves.
Did you do nurse cows from the start, or were you bottle feeding longer at that point?
We kind of we did back in the 2006 2007 we did nurse cows already.
Okay. Yeah.
But then we kind of came back to using nurse stations, and we've tried bars, we've tried quite a few different ways of raising our calves. But I come back to the nurse cows thing with simply all of the temperature's right, the ventilation is usually right, they find their own spot, and for us it just works well.
What age do you usually wean?
They're usually with the cows, and that varies kind of in the season we're in. If I turn a group of nurse cows onto a pasture, and they'll have the calves on them, and from May until August, September, but if they're in the controlled area of the barn, like more in the winter time, where they have access to the good feed TMR mix and I can control that, I would say 3 month. 3 month is. But that's with a calf that runs, and she can nurse what she wants, and I mean she'll be a real nice calf. If I come to Mount Hope, I usually keep my bull calves for 2 weeks because it's a week longer than most people do. But if I unload those calves in Mount Hope auction, they know where those calves came from. Yeah.
Because the bull calves are on nurse cows as well.
They're on nurse cows as well, and I never touch them. I don't touch them. I don't like to mess with them until the morning I take them to the sale. And then all at once they're in the holding area, and the next thing they got a noose around their neck, and then I've got a halter on them, and we go for the trailer, and the next time they get touched is at the auction. So they got some life. They got some life.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears here a little bit. I think, was that 2020?
2021.
2021, you and your family had the opportunity to go to England. We worked it out where your cows went to different farms here in the area, and you were over there for, what was it, 6 months?
We were over there for 100 days.
100 days, okay. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, wow. That was a summer to remember. But yeah, my wife and I and the family, we had 3 children at home yet. We got asked to come over to help to do a document for Channel 4 for simply living off of the land and showing these British people how to raise your own food and to, just living really simple. And so, they took us over to Devon, England, is on the western edge of England, and the peninsula that sticks out like a finger or a thumb toward the west. 40 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, we had 40 acres on like a little farmette, 40 acres, and we plowed up about 2 acres for a produce field, and then so let me back up. So they got us over there, and we got situated, and then they brought us 24 British people from around the country from different walks of life. And so I love working with people. I love different people, but this was a stretch. I mean, we had a variety. I told them we would come as a family if we can also incorporate our faith and to be a witness to each other and to help each other, and they said we could do that. So we met each other, and it ended up being a document for Channel 4. It's got 6 episodes. It's called The Simpler Life, and I'm not sure, is it open to the public or not, but it's out there somewhere. It's called The Simpler Life. But anyhow, we taught them, we had a greenhouse. They had the plants started for us, but me and the children, my wife, so they turned the electricity off. They took us way back to, we had candles, we had oil lamps, and we just lived really simple. But we worked twice as hard as we ever do here at home. But it was a summer to remember. So we had a produce field. We transplanted a lot of plants because their growing season is really short. So they can barely raise sweet corn to the stage where it would ripen. We had sweet corn, but it didn't ripen. The season was too short. But anyhow, so we transplanted plants by the thousands. We had everything from beets to carrots to potatoes to, just the whole 9 yards. Did everything by hand. And then me and the boys built a barn. I forget the size. It wasn't exactly small, but it wasn't huge. And then once we had the barn built, we started out by milking goats. My youngest daughter was along, and she was in charge of the goats, so she taught these British people how to milk goats, and we would pasteurize the milk, and we would use that milk. But then we got cows. After we built the barn, they brought us 2 cows from the neighbors, and so we got those settled in. We got them trained where we could milk them by hand. And then we went to town. We had our own butter. We had our own cream. We made ice cream. We had my wife made cheese on a regular basis. We lived like kings after that. Once we had cows, it was thumbs up again for the cows. So, but the experience wasn't as rough with the animals and the produce as it was with the people. I mean, these people.
So, sorry to interrupt, but these people, you were putting them to work?
We taught them. They worked. So right off the bat, I knew there's more caught than taught. So to really show these people how to work, so we didn't always just tell them. We showed them how to do things. So we were right in the middle of it. And me and my boys were 21 and 26 years old. So I didn't just have little children. We had young men that were able to do something. So we all kind of had our department. And we spread out, and so we also mowed hay. We mowed hay with the horses. We raked it. We baled hay. We stacked hay. These people learned how to throw hay bales. We baled like 400 bales of hay, which isn't much, but for these people it was. We tedded a 4-acre piece of field, a 4-acre piece of hay. We tedded that by hand with forks, and so I looked at that field and just about cried that I was, but hey, the way to do it is you had to be motivated, and I got excited, and I started, telling these people how effective this is, and we tossed that whole field of hay around simply with forks, and I was proud that we got it done. But so it was amazing. The people, so within the first week, so we were at this place, 40-acre piece of property. They supplied us. They got us started with our little stash of food. After that, we were completely self-sustainable. But the first weekend, we had to call a meeting because some of these people wanted to go to the pubs because we didn't have any booze there. So and I said, well, we're not going to start that. I mean, this is what we're here to live off of the land, and this is not a beach party. Well, needless to say, by the first week, we lost 4 people, and one of them walked out the following week. That was 5, and by July the 19th, we were down to 9 people.
From 24? From
24, we were down to 9 people.
They just voluntarily left?
Just voluntarily walked away. This was a project they got paid to be there. I mean, this was a chance of a lifetime, and they walked away from it because they couldn't drink what they wanted, and then they were crying about the food. They wanted this brand. It was such ridiculous stuff. I mean, even our family was out of our comfort zone. We're used to comfort foods, okay? I mean, give me a good baby Swiss or some cheese, and we didn't have it. So, but we did without. I mean,
And you're in a whole other country.
Oh, man, it was so. But that was what the eye-opener was for us. It was as a family to see that firsthand. And then the 9 that were left, we had a group of people there that I especially remember the 2 people that she was a social media buff. She had 30,000 followers on social media, but had never had an idea where her food came from. And she was the one that took care of the chickens. So, but she just loved it. I mean, she just loved it. She actually, by the second week, all her fake eyelashes and all that stuff fell off. And she was a beautiful person. Underneath all of that, she was the real person. And today we're good friends. We're good friends with him. We still interact. We still communicate. Another was a single person that he never had a friend in his life, and the boys they just met him where he was, and they became really good friends. And it's that kind of thing is what really stands out to us is people are people everywhere you go. And for us, it was worth the project for our own experience. But there's so many people that they don't have a clue where their food comes from, or the process of getting it to your plate. Now they know, so somebody has to milk that cow, process the milk, get it to the store, and then they can buy that milk. So, I ended up going to town with a couple of the boys, and we bought some pigs. We had our own pigs, and at the end of the event, we roasted our own pig and had a meal together. But we spent the whole summer with those people. The bad part was we couldn't get out and explore England, but we'll do that later.
Now, you said in that first whatever time frame, it went from 24 to 9, and the big reason you listed off was, they couldn't drink what they want to drink or a certain brand. You didn't say anything about walking away because of the work. Was there any of that?
No.
That's surprising.
It wasn't about the work.
Really?
It wasn't about the work. It was all about food. It was ridiculous. Who would have thought? It never crossed my mind. And they had thousands of people interviewed that would have wanted that. They would have wanted that. But for our family, it was an awesome time it was. So we approved it with Organic Valley and then also OFA, because they needed to know about about what's happening on the farm, and everybody was behind us. To us, that was amazing. Such a huge scope of things that came together to make it work. You don't just walk away from a working farm and leave for the summer. Hello?
When you first talked to me about it, I was like, oh my goodness gracious, is there some stuff to get in order here? But it just, this guy said, I'll take some cows, and, and you had somebody to make your crops for you.
Yeah.
And, it was, I'm sure it was an unbelievable experience over there.
So
I'm really hoping we can, because we had Tim Downs and a couple of other dairy farmers from England on the podcast earlier, and I want to go over there and see those farms.
So we have a really good, he was next door neighbor. They milk 200 cows, and they call that the family farm. So he was over here last summer. We took him around for 3 weeks. And he could not wrap his mind around these little Amish farmers that, they have well-kept farms, and they're actually making money. And it was him and his brother and his family, and his dad basically gave them the farm, never exchanged any money, no dime, and he's struggling. He's struggling like all get out to make it work.
Really?
Yep.
So is their pay price for milk not good over there?
Well, there's so much paperwork, or what's the regulation. We think the organic market is that's a walk in the park compared to what they have to do. Every calf that's born has a passport, and every time if she goes to the auction, that passport follows that calf and goes to if it's a bull calf, everything. And I know Thurman Mullet was telling me they don't do all the things they're supposed to do, because that's all coming to the U.S. too. Mm-hmm. But they've also been through TB and mad cow disease and everything else. Mm-hmm. So there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the highlight of that?
Oh man, highlight was coming home. No, the highlight is just simply, the friends we made and the experience we had. It was an overall, but I don't know. It's, we didn't volunteer. We didn't, how do I want to say this? They reimbursed us for our time there. By no means did we get rich on it, but the price tag of doing it was priceless. I mean, it was worth more than any money. I mean,
What was the low light?
simply the loneliness. We were away from family. We were away from church, friends. I mean, I'm a Mount Hope guy. I go to the auction only Wednesdays, but every Wednesday, and I like to interact with people. And man, we were a long way from home.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Did you come home and visit anytime?
We came home. So what they did is we worked with these 9 that were left, and even those 9 didn't know each other, and they had to establish a pecking order within their own group because they didn't know it, but we knew it from the get-go that we're going to leave them for about 3 weeks, and they're going to run this farm themselves. So one day at a meeting, I told him by next Friday we're going to go home. And this is the highlight. If I think about it, this is the highlight. So we were always curious, well, are we making an impact? Do they enjoy us? Or do we, are we, and even in America, men don't cry. I mean, that's not macho. But this meeting, I mean, these people teared up and bawled. I mean, they just bawled. And that was a highlight because we knew, okay, so they actually appreciate us, and we got connected, and it was emotional. It was absolutely emotional. And so we get a hard copy of these clips of the whole episodes, and I've showed these clips to different people that don't even know the people. And at the end of that, when we view that and show that, I mean, these people that sit here and watch it, they're wiping eyes and crying with them. I mean, it's really sensitive. So, then we came home for 3 weeks, and they ran that whole farm themselves. They milked the cows, and they harvested oats. They harvested the wheat with an old-fashioned binder.
Okay. And they did that by themselves.
They had a farmer. They had a horse farmer that was with them and walked with them, and it was run how they run things, and you kind of roll with it. But they did a good job. What caught us, me and the boys, we saw that right away. So we watched this clip after we came home, and and the cows were just about ready to dry off, and they brought these cows in to milk, and man, they were bagged up. So I was pretty sure they skipped a milking or two, but hey, that was up to them. But anyhow, but then we were at home for 3 weeks, and then they brought us back. They took us back to have one more meal together. So literally flew us to England. We sat for a week in quarantine.
This was over COVID.
This was over COVID. Yeah. And then we had to, once we were in that bubble, we were able to go without any masks. Or you can't do a document with masks on, hello. But once we were in that bubble, we were allowed to go without. And so we were sat in quarantine for a week, and then they took us over there on a Sunday morning. And by Monday morning, forenoon, we went to London Heathrow and flew out of there Tuesday. So we literally spent part of a day with them yet. But it was just at the first meeting, my wife made the main meal. They didn't know how to cook. They didn't know, So now we came as their guests, and they made us the meal. They served us the food, and we were simply visitors. So, it wasn't, we made it look good on film, hello. But yeah, they had a few things to learn yet, but they came a long way. They came a long way. I'll give them a benefit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, did they live with you, or were they in?
It was like an Airbnb. You can go there now. You can rent it as an Airbnb. The place is called Libir Barton, Libbear Barton, Barton, Libir Barton, and it's like a 40-acre plot. But there was like 4 different dwellings, and people rent one or the other. And this whole crew rented the whole thing. So our family had our own personal house, but it was right within the compound. So it was the old English setting. It's got the stone houses, the stone walls, I could see James Herriot in his book. I could see that. I could picture that whole scene. I mean, it was pretty cool, very cool. The hedgerows are out there. What I really liked about England in that area was you can go up on the hillside and you can't see any houses. You can see hedgerows, you can see cows and sheep, and it's not built up, torn up. It's beautiful, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's an awesome experience.
So, yeah.
And when you came home, was there and brought the cows back to the farm, was there getting used to it, or did they come home and just hit their stride?
We unloaded the cows out by the lane by the road. They knew, that we unloaded them. They came from 4 different farms. Walked him in the barn and milked him, never missed a beat. I mean, it was very positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the rest period my farm got with that 30, 35 days mowing and not the trampling and all that. I think it did my farm some good too. Even we had lawn care come in and take care of the lawn, but we had flower beds that were overgrown in weeds and so, yeah.
That's a small price to pay for a summer in England,
price.
huh?
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. Well, Lloyd, this was really enjoyable. I've never actually heard all about England. I was involved in helping you line some things up to go, but really interesting. And I just want to thank you for taking the time, sitting down with us and telling us your story. I will say what you're doing as a grass-fed dairy farmer is nothing short of impressive. So your cows look tremendous. So I just want to thank you again for joining.